Now, so ladies and gentlemen, it is my absolute pleasure to welcome someone who I've never spoken about this topic with, because we tend to be rolling around in the floor, sweating in awkward positions, and trying to choke each other to death. So that's what we normally do, being jiu-jitsu practitioners, both being competitors in the past at World Championships. And so now we are... I think we're going to talk about something totally different. We're going to talk about money. So, Adam Phillips, tell me what it is that you do and why it is that you do it, and then let's go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, well, let's go for it. Yeah, I mean, it does feel weird about talking anything other than jiu-jitsu, but medalists, by the way, both medalists, if I'm not mistaken, at the Worlds. Just saying. So Money, the Money Guy, It's Money Guy, was a brand that I set up about a year ago. I was working at the bank, been there for like 12 years, and I phoned my dad up and said, I've quit the bank, Dad. And he was like, what? But you've got a pension with them and they're safe. And I said, I know, it's mental. But the reason for it is because at the bank, they don't treat you as an individual. You can't be creative in what you're doing. But there's a reason for that. It's because there's regulation and they have only certain products and you're licensed to sell certain products and talk about certain products. Now, there was a moment when I was a little bit naughty. And there was an old lady that came into the bank when I was working in one of the branches for this particular firm. And she came in to upgrade her ISA. Every April, people come in and upgrade their ISA. And she made like 20 quid extra or something. So as far as she's concerned, she's won the day. Happy days. But then as I was looking for a bank statement, there was little things that just made me think, this isn't quite right. She was paying like £180 a month for gas and electric. Now, if you're a little old lady living on your own, that is astronomical.
Yeah,
but then she could have.
I think 47 quid.
About 80 to £100 is a rough average kind of price. So I thought to myself, well, maybe she's living in a large house, because it could be just a big house, or it could have underfloor heating and she has that on constantly, or she might have people living with her. So I asked all these questions, and it turns out just literally an old lady in a normal 2-bed house somewhere in Andover. And the reason it was so expensive is because her husband had passed away, unfortunately. And he was married with her for 35 odd years, 35, 40 years. And obviously, old school way of doing business is that the man tended to be the breadwinner and he sorted out the bills and everything. And she just, when he died, didn't know what to do or where to even begin. She just assumed that it was in a good place and British Gas is pretty good, right? And sort of went from there. Other firms are also pretty good, obviously. But when I was looking at it, I said to her, look, I'm going to show you how you can easily is just to switch your energy. Obviously, the bank's not affiliated to any energy suppliers. And I went on a couple of comparison sites. I said, look, all you have to do is click this button, and you save yourself, it was something like about £100 a month. So it's £1,200 a year back in her pocket. Well, she couldn't believe how easy that was in its first right. And then as I was talking to her, we was looking at, home insurance. And her home insurance, again, it would just be rolled on year after year after year. She'd assumed that her husband was right. And long story short, we did the home insurance for her. I could do that through the bank. I was licensed to do that. That was right. But that saved her £400 a year. So she came in for 20 quid and she's left like £1,600 better off. So I was made up because intrinsically, there was no financial reward for me there. Like in the bank, we're not on commission. Not anymore. Not the old days. It's completely different now. So you're not on commission. But for me, if that was my nan and I found out the chap at the bank helped her with the gas and electric and then a home insurance, I'd be over the moon. Like the fact that my nan's come for 20 quid and she's walked out with 1,600 quid extra. So intrinsically, I was made up and told the boss about it. And he was also like, this is great customer service. Fantastic. Well done. I don't encourage it, but fantastic. And unfortunately, someone grasped me up somewhere down the line, went to whistleblower. So I got called into the office. And then there was another situation where through my jiu-jitsu, one of the companies was a dentist and he offered to make me a gum shield for free. But because the particular firm was on our books, I put an Instagram post up and said, cheers to this company for me the gum shield, really appreciate it. And I was called into the office because it could be a bribe. Because it's a custom gum shield. I mean, no one's going to want to use a second-hand gum shield, right? And even if they did, I mean, it won't fit. So I said to her, my exact words were, it's not bullion, it's not a Rolex watch. It's a custom gum shield. It's made, it cost about £5. But because that was perceived as that, I was like, so this is the second time in about a year. And I was like, you know what? I've had enough of this. So I set up It's the Money Guy. And the whole point of it is to encourage people to look. It's that easy. Just look, have a look. If you did insurance, Jonathan, and if I hadn't asked you, then I won't know if it's any cheaper. You might say it's cheaper, and it could be. Oh, and that's the point. A lot of people don't do that. And I like to attack these things a bit like a fitness or weight loss plan, I guess. Obviously, you know about cutting weight yourself, and I have to cut weight for when I hit competitions as well. And I've realized it's got a very good simile. So if you want to lose weight, what are the things you have to do? You have to want to do it. And I don't mean say you want to do it. I mean, you really got to do it. Like if you're doing a 6-week training camp and you turn up the first 2 days and then never again, then you didn't really actually ever want to do it. You know what I mean? You've got to be, I want to do it. So that's the first thing. You actually have to want to change, and you have to want to put money aside. If you don't want to say, I want to save money, if you're not actually going to want to do it. The second thing is you're going to have to go about without something, probably. So if you want to lose weight, I can't eat Chinese. Oh, I can't eat pizza. Oh, you know, or at least I shouldn't eat as much of it, you know. But you've got to have to go without. You're going to have to cut something out. If you want to save money, you probably can't have the Chinese. You probably can't have that pizza. You know, it's the same thing. And the third thing is you're going to have to make changes. You know, again, like a weight loss program, if I want to lose weight, I have to do something different to what I'm doing on a daily basis in order to achieve my goals. And it's the same with money gaining. So you've got pound loss for the weight, you've got the pound gain for the money. It's the same theory. If I don't change what I'm doing, if I don't look, perhaps the change could be when my car insurance is due, I'm going to look at 5 comparison sites rather than just 1. That could be the change. But that 5, out of those 5, one of them might be significantly cheaper than the other. Now, I'm not advocating at any point that you should always go for the cheapest deal. What I want is people to understand what they're buying so they're getting the best deal for their money. So if you want good customer service, it probably won't be the cheapest. But if that's what you want, then it's a good deal for you, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I want people to understand.
And so why would it be that people don't do that? Because it seems a pretty obvious thing. And I mean, I find every day, I guess the more that I look for it, the more I see it, or especially in the martial arts from training for the World Championships and stuff. I've been in more and more conversations with people. I just can't seem to lose this 3 kilos or the 5 kilos, or I can't seem to, you know, and it seems to be a pretty standard conversation where I say, so what's your calorie intake per day versus what your calorie expenditure per day? Mm-hmm. And every person says, well, I don't know, I eat pretty healthily. And I just say, well, you know, there's 50 apps on the App Store which enable you to actually track what calories you're actually taking in and what calories you're expending. And it turns out that if the calories that you're expending are more than the calories that you're taking in, you lose weight. Mm-hmm. It would appear that in money, if you spend less, you seem to have more. And if you spend clever, you seem to be able to accumulate more.
Correct.
Why would it be so rare to find people who actually look at it in such simple terms?
I think it's a mixture of things. The first one is laziness. And I don't mean that in a hypocritical way, in a kind of like I don't mean it in a negative way. I mean, the general population of the UK is overweight.
Yeah.
Why? Because, well, generally speaking, we've got lazier. We have got lazy as a nation. We don't have to walk to school every day to take the children. We just get in the car. I don't have to walk to the shops now. I just get in the car. In fact, I've even got to get in the car. I just go click, 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 and it comes to my house. Yeah. You know, so with money, it's a similar it's the same principles, you know. So laziness is one part. It could be ignorance. So you mentioned then about, you know, I'm eating really healthily. But actually, when you look at what they're eating, they're snacking. There's the little things. So the equivalent to that in money terms, I guess, would be this. How many takeaways do you have a month? Typically, people say maybe one a month, maybe 2, right? So 1 every couple of weeks, the standard answer that I get. But then you're thinking takeaway as fish and chips, right? Chinese, Indian. How about the coffee that you went to go and bought a minute ago? How about the sandwich you bought at a shop for lunch? That's a takeaway. You've bought food, you've taken it away. It's a takeaway, right? But for that £2.50 for the sandwich, you can buy a loaf of bread with that. And you could buy, I don't know, a tub of jam. I don't know, whatever you want in your sandwich. Right? So the point is, I think it's ignorance. So the people who go, I'm barely eating a thing. Oh, just got your snacking.
Yeah.
Just had a little snack. And then that's the little things that's adding up. And if you're only a couple hundred calories over a day, you're going to put on weight.
Exactly.
So I think it's a similar sort of thing. So that's ignorance, laziness, not understanding. There's a huge, the bank account, for example, used to be change of bank accounts did take months, like 2-3 months. And even then, sometimes it wasn't ever solved. But there are great systems being put in place now, particularly for bank account is one. It's called the current account switcher service. So it's guaranteed to switch in 7 working days. So what day would we say? Thursday. So today would be day number 1. Friday would be day number 2. By Friday next week, that's the 7th working day, my bank account will be completely changed. You can get, and what they do is they change your direct debits, your standing orders, your bill payments. They change who pays you. If you get any credits into that account, it goes redirects to the new one. They can close the old account. They can move the balance, whatever's in it, across as well. They do everything for you. It takes 7 working days, and you sign 1 piece of paper. It's so easy. Likewise, energy. You've got to go on a couple of websites. Just go click, 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 done. Electricity. Last time I did any research on the switching of services, the utilities industry were looking at the banking industry to see how their banks switch, because it is that efficient, to see if they can refine it and get your utility switched over in just a day.
Yeah.
I think that will happen. When the bank account said they were going to switch it over in 7 days, I was like, never. It's never going to happen. It takes, and then now it's 7 days. It's guaranteed. It's also guaranteed service. And if it doesn't happen, you can write a complaint and you'll get money. So it's great. So the services are getting easier, and I think a lot of people don't understand how easy it is. So I think it's a mixture of laziness, ignorance, and not understanding enough about the industry to do anything about it. Like I wouldn't tackle building a house because I can't do it. I'm sure it's actually not that difficult. It's not an easy job, but I'm sure it's not actually much to it. But I am so ignorant to it, I wouldn't have a clue where to begin.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we are at the moment.
It's funny you should say that, actually, because every year for the last 14 years, I've flipped a coin on New Year's Eve between 2 things that I can't do. Mm-hmm. And then wherever it's landed is what I then do. For instance, funnily enough, I don't know whether you know this, but the only reason I did jiu-jitsu is because 2 years ago I flipped a coin, and it was on one side it was climb El Capitan with no ropes, the vertical cliff face, 4,000 foot. The other was to compete at a world championships in a martial art that I've never done before, and it landed on that. So
what, you were going to climb a 4,000 foot cliff,
or compete in world championships in a martial art I've never done before? I'd never done jiu-jitsu before, mate.
Wow, that's amazing.
So when I became the British national champion, I'd been doing jiu-jitsu for 7 months. So to your point on this topic, of thinking that we can't do something because we are unable to we don't know the information. I've realized through the coin flips that when it lands on the heads or the tails, my initial reaction is, how am I ever going to do it? Within about 48 hours of immersion into that topic, I've realized that there is most certainly A, evidence that people have done it, B, that there's a relatively straightforward framework of how to do it, and C, that then it's down to the accountability that I have to have to commit to that. And I always kind of have this kind of decide, plan, execute kind of process in my head. So once I've decided something, and if the coin has decided that that's it, then that's what the decision is. And when I've worked out what the plan is, that they're kind of, the decision and the planning is actually relatively simple, but the execution, or for instance the discipline that's required, I think is where most people find it the hardest, because it requires you to do something like giving up smoking. I remember when I gave up smoking many years ago, I realized that I mean, there's something crazy, like 70% of smokers want to give up smoking,
Yeah.
and 11% of them actually do it.
Mm.
And I would imagine, and I don't know the stats in terms of money, but I would imagine that about 90% of people wish that they had savings,
Mm-hmm.
and about 20% of people actually probably do. And so there's a difference between what's happening between the 90% who want to do it and 20% who do it must be in the execution side of how they're doing it and the behavioral change that they have to actually take. And it's so much easier just to call up Just Eat, or just to put into Just Eat or Deliveroo with pizza, rather than go to a fruit and veg store and actually buy stuff that actually your body wants. It's easier to just click twice, right?
100%. And that's kind of the problem. But it's also about, you mentioned about, like, let's say I want abs. I love abs. And the best thing about it is I could actually get it.
Yeah.
That's the great, I can. All I've got to do is apply myself. The problem is I also like food, and that's an issue. So, like, if the similar sort of thing with money is, when you say to people, if you could have one wish, what would it be? And generally, top three is, wish I could have enough money to either live on, to be happy, or so I was a millionaire, or something similar to that, right? And then you say, well, why haven't you got? Then do it. There's nothing stopping you from being comfortable. You have to. Now, I know don't get me wrong, I know that there are hardships in the world, and I understand that there is poverty. Poverty is a real thing. But rather than get yourself into debt, you can get yourself into a position where you can either handle the debt and you can get yourself savings. So, like, go back to the weight loss scenario. If I really want money and I want to save for a house, if that means living off, I don't mean it's literally, but a tin of beans every day, right? That's what you've got to do. That's the sacrifice you've got to make in order for you to hit your goals. It means I can't eat that beautiful pie or cake. Right? If I really, really want it, the desire has to be more than the temptation.
Yeah,
and that's when we get.
Yeah, and I've recognised that from the training, especially this year in the lead up to the World Championships. I've said no to dozens of nights out with the lads, and the holiday, the Ibiza weekends, and things. I've been training. I've 6 o'clock most mornings.
Yeah.
For the first 8 months of this year, I would be rolling around somewhere in a pool of sweat and blood, and as the rest of the people in my life would be waking up and rolling over, stretching, making a cup of tea, having a slice of toast. I'm underneath some 110 kilo bloke who's got his arm on it, and it does make you wonder. But if you want to compete in the World Championships and win a medal, it turns out that's what you're pretty much doing at 6 a.m.
Mm-hmm. I think it's this is why I think the PT world. Now, again, we'll go back to the fitness because it's so similar in so many ways. We all know how to lose weight and how to gain weight. We all know. And yet, the PT industry is one of the fastest growing industries in the UK today. We all know how to save money if we really wanted it, but we don't. So what I'm trying to do is try and help people, coach them through their money. And you mentioned the word earlier on, and it's so important, which is accountability. You have to be accountable for it. So when you turn around and say, well, why have you got 10 grand in your credit card? Oh, well, the bank's kept giving me the money. No. The banks didn't spend your money. You spent the money, right? So now, whether it's right or wrong, it doesn't matter. That's the situation you're in. We have to face that. Now, what my job would be is try and help people pay as little interest as possible. And sometimes it is impossible because the credit score is so low. No one else is going to give you a credit card. And I know that people say, well, that's bollocks, that's stupid. Well, yeah, but you've got to break it down to a personal level. Any decision at the bank, just break it down to a personal level. It's the easiest way of explaining it. So, Jonathan, you know that I'm awful with money. I've got 15 grand worth of debt. I've missed 6 payments in the last 12. This has happened several times before. Would you lend me any more money?
No.
Right, no. Okay. The bank won't either then.
Yeah.
Right? It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. Like, and it's some people don't like it, but then you've got to go, well, okay, well, that's tough. We have to then go, right, let's be accountable for it and work out a plan to get rid of this debt. So there are debt charities available. There are things such as individual voluntary agreements, and of course there is bankruptcy as well. Rather ironically, you have to pay to become bankrupt, which is rather ironic. But anyway, you don't really want to go down those routes. Just if you can help it, just because it affects you for the next 5 years or so, your credit ratings and all sorts. People need to have structured targets and plans to ensure that their debt is actually being paid off. And like you said a minute ago, that does mean not going out with your mates. Going out these days, I mean, I can spend 100 quid on a night out, no problems, right? Because beers are like, what, £4 a pint? And then you have a couple of shots. Before you know it, I can't remember what happens. And I buy everyone in a pub a drink. And then and then you think, what could I have done with that £100? And ordinarily, the people that I'm speaking to, not all of them, but you have to ask yourself, you can't afford to pay off any debt, but you can afford a crate of beer every couple of days, and you can afford your cigarettes. Now, I'm not saying that, because that's obviously down an addiction route. Now, addiction is a separate subject altogether. But I smoke full time, and it was one of the hardest things I tried probably about 15 times to give up, in all honesty. I eventually did give up because I found jiu-jitsu and I wanted to get better at it. And I found myself after 5 minutes of being punched in the face and then thrown on the floor, I felt a little bit sick, and I was sick of feeling sick. And I had to go outside the Phoenix Center where we trained, and literally was like, I'm gonna die, right? I didn't want that anymore. So afterwards, I was reaching for a cigarette, and I was like, do you know what? I don't need that. I don't want it anymore. I don't need it. And then gave up. But anyway, what you're going to ask is prioritize what you're doing. So one of the things is, like I said before, there's one of the three golden rules is you're going to have to make a change. One of those changes, and you might not like the change, but what's more important, becoming stressed because of all the debt that's slowly mounting up, or actually handling it. And if that means, oh, you're going to come out the weekend? I can't, bud. I can't. 80 quid, I need to pay that off the credit card. Oh, that's it's stupid. Yeah, we're grown-ups now. We're bigger boys. And at 80 quid, if it means that the man's not knocking at the door, can I come and take your TV away? That's surely a better deal than going out, getting smashed, and then feeling like crap the next day. So and then so this is why I think, and debt is another thing. Quickly, this is why I reached out to yourself anyway. Obviously, what you do is fantastic work in terms of getting people to just think about what they're doing and try and feel a bit better about things. And it's just a matter of, a lot of things is just a matter of perception. Now, one thing I want to just quickly say, no one should ever cut themselves, lose their life, or anything like that because of money. Every single debt problem can be solved. 100%. Every single problem can be solved. Doesn't mean becoming bankrupt, potentially. Doesn't mean having an IVA, potentially. But you know what? If that's what it is, that's what it is. But it can be solved.
Yeah, that's a great. Actually, I love that. I love that message because it means that there is light at the end of the tunnel. Even if it seems that it's a really dark, long journey. And I think I admire that. And I think that what I loved was the simile between personal fitness. So you're essentially a personal money PT. It's like a PT.
Yeah.
I think I'm probably a PT in terms of thoughts. And so I like the PT. One of the things that I wanted to ask you about, without getting too conspiracy theorist about it, but is there a case that that some of the systems that we have in terms of banking and credit are rigged to some extent to enable us to get into debt to serve the industry's interests, literally?
Well, going back 10 years ago, because people were getting, letters from the bank saying, hey, do you want some money? And the problem that we got is that the marketing that people receive are misunderstanding what they're saying. And this is why the banks and other people get away with it. So if I say to you, Jonathan, you're pre-approved for a 10 grand loan, you go, oh, that's good. But of course, we're all pre-approved. All of us are pre-approved because it means we're not actually approved yet. We've got to be, we are pre-accepted until we get credit scored, and then we'll be declined.
Yeah.
And then people go, oh, what? But it says I'm guaranteed a loan. He said, it doesn't. It says you're pre-approved a loan because we're all pre-approved until we apply. And the marketing department wants you to apply. Now, 10 years ago, that was being chucked out left, right, and centre. I mean, we were doing 125% mortgages, for God's sake. So you buy a house, you were immediately 25 grand in negative equity. I mean, you look back now, we go, what are we doing like that? And again, the plan was the 25% extra you'd use to then build on the house and make it better. And then the house value would be over the 25%. However, people are people. And if you've got a house worth 100 grand and you've got a 25 grand extra in your bank account, guess what happens? Yes, get lashed, lads. And then, of course, they go, oh, what? That's the bank's fault. You're like, well, again, coming back to accountability, it's not the bank's fault you spend it on the wrong thing, but arguably, it is the bank's fault for allowing you to have that much money and for not having it almost set aside. So if they said, like, well, if we've got the 25 grand, we've got it, it's here, it's on the side, you provide to us plans for your extension, you've got it. It's there, but you can only pay a builder or whatever, right? Then it would be so bad, but they give it to you. Then of course, people just go mental for it. So then the credit crunch happened, and now there is a responsible lending code, which didn't happen 10 years ago. So that wasn't a thing. There was, well, it was, but it was very loose. Like, well, we said pre-approved. That's not lying. And you're like, well, yeah, but that's a technicality. So now the responsible lending code says you have to demonstrate that you can not only afford it, but you're lending responsibly.
Right.
So there was a scenario recently where one of the firms who is very, very popular for same day money, their interest rate was 1,800% APR. That's 1,800% APR, right? And I'm dealing with a case currently, working with this lovely lady, and her son actually passed away, unfortunately, due to depression and other things as well. I'm sure this didn't help either, but he was getting loan after loan after loan after loan after, literally like I think she said it was something, in some cases it was up to 3 a week. And of course, by the time you've paid off the debt, you've already accrued more money in debt than you've paid off because it's. So that is not responsible lending. So these things are in place now, so that's going to happen less. But ultimately, lending money is the way the banks make money, and people have to take ownership of what they're doing. And I think it's an educational thing. One thing I'd love, if I can make this one thing my lifelong goal, then so be it, would be to get money into the educational system. Because we learn about algebra in maths. Now, I would argue, and I get the idea is to get people thinking outside the box a little bit, right? But I would say, or argue that that's probably more specific to things like engineering, perhaps, or sciences, perhaps. But then I would say that's more of a university. Have you ever used algebra outside in the normal world? Right? No, but we're all taught it, right? We're taught German. I mean, as you go to Germany, it's a completely useless skill. Money is the one thing that we all definitely have to think about, discuss, handle, deal with in some way, shape or form. Whether we're financially capable or not, we still have to deal with it in one way, shape or form. And yet it's one of the things that we're not even talk about. Do you think that that one of the reasons why we're not taught about how it works is because it is an intentionally opaque topic that if we became more knowledgeable about, we wouldn't fall into the bear traps that are set for us. So it's actually by design. Throughout history, the best way of
of controlling populations by limiting and controlling the amount of information that populations have access to. In fact, the opposite of that is by arming people with information to the same level as what organizations and governments have. And what could happen and could be a risk is that people en masse sometimes could turn around to the system itself and go, you're robbing us.
Mm-hmm.
You're fucking ripping us off. So why are we going to stand for it? Whereas the opposite is actually, if we teach people about the names of Henry VIII's wife, then they are more likely to be susceptible to marketing messages saying you're pre-approved for a loan. Is that a bit simple to think that that's the way it works?
No, I don't think. I don't think knowing everything like at industry level is necessarily a problem, but I think that. So, if say, let's go back to the weight loss thing. We all know that we should eat less and do more, but then really we need to then work out how much carbs you're eating, how much protein you're eating, because you don't want to be eating just carbohydrates, right? So that's just it's understanding that level. Now, going further than that, you're then going to the macronutrients, micronutrients. It gets really, really complicated, really deep. We don't need to say that level, but we have to understand the bare basics. And people don't even know the bare basics right now. So, for example, a lot of people won't know the difference between a direct debit and a standing order. Mm. And that's an issue. And the reason why it's an issue is because direct debit, there are things called direct debit guarantees. In English, if a direct debit was taken from my bank today, and I would look to my bank account, what the hell is this about? I have no idea who they are. They're not supposed to take that out for another week. Oh, I've paid all my direct debits up. This is one too many because it was supposed to be 10 payments. This is 11th. Or I look at it and go, I have no idea who this person is. You can literally call the bank that day, call the money immediately, and the money's back in your account straight away. Standing order, can't do that because I'm giving you the money. Think of it this way. If I give you the cash, I can't claim that you've nicked it.
Yeah. Funny,
that's the difference.
I never knew the difference between those two until that.
There you go. Look. But this is so basic. If people understood the difference, because people's perception is, well, direct debits, they can take out money whenever they want. And you're like, well, yeah, they can, but there's a guarantee in place to enable you to recall that money with immediate effect. With like immediate effect. I mean, it's in your account now. It's done.
Wow.
So it's standing order though. If I meant to send you 10 payments and it actually came to 11 payments, I'm like, damn it. I can recall it through the faster payment system, but it won't be quick. And also I've got evidence that actually, because what happens then, if I was buying your car from you and I went, yeah, I'll give you the money tomorrow. And then I'll give you the £1,000, I've paid you, and then I recall it straight away.
Yeah.
Right? So you've given me the keys to your car because you see the money drop in your account. Happy days, thanks so much. And the next day, you're going about it, and then you go, where's the money gone?
Wow.
So that's why standing orders, you can't just recall straight away.
Yeah.
So I think if we all learn as a nation the bare basics of money. So what is money? How does it handle? What's the difference between a credit card and a debit card? Why is a credit card actually potentially bloody brilliant? Credit cards can be brilliant, but only if you handle it right and you're accountable for it. I don't go, I've been given £5,000. That means I can spend all of it and never pay it back. And then you go, well, because then you're going to get in problems. It's like, that's like saying, I'm going to eat everything and not get fat. You go, no, you're going to get fat, mate, because you're just eating everything. You've got to be accountable for what you're doing. Like, you know, so I then go, it's not my fault. Tesco's gave me the food. That's not how it goes. No.
Yeah. It's funny, actually, this point about accountability is massive, and it seems to be the theme of our conversation, actually. And
yeah.
I've been, this last year has been extremely hard for me in terms of particular business situation that I found myself in with the extraordinarily unpleasant person, and it's cost me a lot to navigate through that. It cost me everything to navigate through that, and one of the things that I have found quite useful in that process is actually moving my thoughts of what's happened to me, to becoming more along the lines of what I can do about it. And so one of the things about accountability that I like is that we can choose to be accountable from now onward, in a similar way to I would say about 3 weeks before the World Championships, I had got to the target 4 weeks before the World Championships. I hit weight. So I made weight 4 weeks before. Yeah. 1 week later, I was a kilo over. And I was like, oh no, I've blown it. I spent 6 months trying to get to the weight, and now I'm a kilo over. And one of the things that was useful was to stop and say, okay, that's where I got to.
Yeah.
That's where I am now. What can I do for the next 3 weeks to make sure that on the day of the weigh-in, I hit weight?
Uh-huh.
Do you find that with clients from a money perspective that you have to kind of help them with their mindset to some extent? Go, okay, listen, you made the decisions you made. What's happened to you has happened to you. You got ripped off by your business partner as a psychopath. You spent money on legal bills. You've maxed out your credit cards to get yourself out of the hole. Okay, all of these things happened.
Yeah.
And it's shit, but from today onwards, you have options. Mm-hmm. Do you have to do that quite often with people?
Everyone.
I thought you might say that.
Everyone, yeah, because it's if you're in debt, it's not a good thing, right? And it makes you feel like death. It makes you feel. Some people have literally taken their lives because of it. Yeah. And that's such a sad thing because it's something that you can definitely get out of. This isn't like an addiction problem. Addiction is, like I said before, is a whole different beast. This is something that can definitely be solved, 100%. Now, but you need to catch it early enough. I mean, even if you catch it late, it doesn't matter. You can solve every debt problem. Every debt problem can be solvable. But you've got to recognise that you're in debt. So you just got to be accountable for it. You've got to acknowledge what's going on. You've got to deal with it. You've got to talk to the debtors, or the creditors, people that you owe money to. You've got to talk to them. They have a responsibility to ensure that what they're asking back from you is reasonable. Some people say, oh, you go to them and just say, I'll only pay £1 and they have to do it. That's not actually true. They don't have to do that. But you do have to demonstrate that you can only afford £1.
Right.
Because then, of course, it would be reasonable. So, every debt problem is fixable, whereas addiction isn't quite like that. It doesn't work. You can't go, I can fix anything. No, that's a very, very difficult thing to get into.
Funny enough, actually, I'd like to do another talk with people about addiction because I'm of the I love that I love the conversation about whether addiction is as easily fixable as debt, because I happen to think that there is quite a lot of merit in the power of our thinking, and adapting our genealogy and our cellular structures, and how much of addiction is actually a memorized choice of our cells. So, but that's a different conversation. But in this debt side of things, when you speak to people about kind of the mindset around how they can look at their situation, what's the average time it takes for people to get out of remorse and into a proactive debt management mindset where they're going, yes, it's shit, but I've got a voluntary agreement now that means that this is my program of payments that I can afford, and yes, it means that I'm not going to be able to spend 50 quid a week on booze anymore, and yes, it means that I'm not going to, how fast do people switch from going, my life is fucked, to going, actually, I now have a plan?
Mm-hmm. Well, it kind of goes like this. So you're sitting about here, maybe going down a little bit. Then you meet me, and I'm going to tell you and show you how you can save so much money. Then you kind of go like that, and then the next day they forget about it, and they go down a bit. And then I ring them up, and they go, oh yeah, I'm going to do it. And they go, and then it kind of goes down, and then they do it. This is the secret part. The second you do it, and they go, is that it? And you've done it. And you go, I switched my energy and I've just saved, 200 quid a year. Yep, simple as that. What, mate? And they go, then that goes, whoop, like that. It's a bit like weight loss. It's just so similar. Like, so you'll go, right, it's a bit like this. You go, right, the first day, nothing's happened. Shit. Right? Next day, you go, yeah, well, a little bit's happened. And then, like, you actually do it. You do the 12-week course, and you look in the mirror and you go, oh my God. And then you go, oh, and then that's where you're here. That's when you're like at the top. Now, the hardest then part is to stay at the top, but that's another thing. But this is the same thing with money. It's when you actually go, it's really easy to do. Yeah, you're going to say that, because you're on commission and stuff. You're like, no, it's a free service. Like, this isn't making me any money. Like this is about coaching people. And actually, all you got to do is do it. And then when you do it, you'll go, oh, that was easy. And like you say, like the first time you said no to your mates and the nights out, I bet that was like, sitting at home.
Yep.
But by the fourth or fifth, it was like, oh, sorry, boys, I can't come out. And you don't care, you're all right. And that's because you're used to it. You've conditioned yourself and go, actually, I am all right. I'm okay. I'm not hungover on a Sunday. I feel great. Also, I've got 100 sheets still in my pocket. Tell you what, I'm going to treat the missus to a night out tonight because I've got some spare change. And I'm only going to spend 50 quid. I still have 50 quid left over. Brilliant. Right? So this is why it kind of goes, it's never just a straight line. But the most important thing is to be accountable for what you're doing. Actually do it. And once you've done it, you'll then start seeing results. Once you've make the changes, you've gone without things, you'll then start seeing results, which then reinforces the doing part of it as well. And it's such a simple thing to do. Like, you only got to look at little things. Like, for example, if you had, how much pack of cigarettes these days? £10 a pack, something like that?
11 quid.
It was about £3.50 back in my day, mate. So about £3.50, what? So if you have one cigarette, let's say a day off, how many's in a pack? 20?
Yep.
Right. So then that's £10 a month straight away, plus another 10 days. So that's what, 15 quid saved. If you had one cigarette less a day. Now, most people can go without one, like, if I could have one less cigarette a day, right? So that's 15 quid a month saved. It's like 150, 50, 60, 180 pound a year. 180 quid a year would pay off most of my car insurance.
Yeah.
If I had one less cigarette a day.
Yeah.
And then you go, oh, all right, well, rather than getting a 15 quid pizza from a local takeaway, I could go to a shop where they make it fresh from the deli for like 4 quid. So I've saved myself £11. And actually, they're quite tasty as well. I've saved myself £11. So let's say a tenner, because it's easier to do the maths, right? That's 120 quid a year saved. And then you go, hang on, 120 plus the 180, I've saved £300. That is my car insurance paid for.
Yeah.
That was easy.
Yeah.
And it's, and that's all you're doing. You're not going without. I'm not having no cigarettes. I'm not advocating you should give up smoking. I'm just saying, well, let's have a look at that and really see if we can, because it's one of the most expensive parts of people's living. If you do smoke or have takeaways, then if it's that expensive, let's not say you go without, but let's just say you can do less. And then by having £300 a year, and that's just the top of my head.
Yeah.
£300 saved. Gosh, there we go, done. And I can actively demonstrate it.
Yeah.
And that was on £10 saved, not £11 saved, because actually it'd be £312 saved had you done it. So
it's brilliant. And as I have to ask you, so are you actually not monetizing Money Guy yet, or are you intending to? Or what's the business model?
So I've got two arms. I've got the people, the residential side, I guess, and I've got the business, the corporate side. Okay, so the residential side, there are some small commissions if you go with some people, which you always know about as well because I tell you about it. But there's no pressure to do anything. And subsequently, I had to set up. I've got another 3 businesses on top, which I do make money. So I've got a taxi business I set up. I've got a clothing company that I set up. I do a bit of cleaning, and I teach jiu-jitsu one-to-ones as well. So they're my revenue streams. I hate taxing. I'm not gonna lie to you. I absolutely hate it. But I don't want anyone to come to me and feel like they have to sign up. I don't like that model. I think it's if you're commission driven, then you are dishonest. Well, not dishonest.
Bias.
I think there has to be, because if I've got food to put on the table for the kids and the wife, I have to make money, right? So I don't want to have to rely on you signing up with your household bills with me, because then I make 20 quid from it. That's mental. So what I've done is I was like, right, I'm accountable for it. That's fine. This is what I want. I want the brand to be organic. I want people to realize that they can come to me for a chat. It's not going to cost them anything. If you do go with certain companies, I might make a small commission. It usually isn't a lot. This is for the residential side. This is. And That's why I do. That's why I do taxing, and I hate taxing, but I do it because I love helping people with their money, and I want to try and do it as organically as possible. The business side of Money Guy, I do make money out of. So if you were to look at me and say, I have a business premises, how much money can you save me on my gas, electric, card readers, waste disposal, contracts for employment, and a load of other bits and pieces, then I do make a commission off of that. And the commissions off some of them can be quite favourable. So I don't need to then have to worry about pushing a sale for people. At the moment, I've just literally come back from Newcastle a few days ago, working with some brilliant partners up there, 4 lads, ambitious, young. They've got a great customer. I wanted to find someone with a good customer service ethos. I don't want to be working with people that are trying to just make one-off big sales. I want people to be looking after people. That's my number one priority. So, make a commission from that. And so when that gets going, which I'm just started pushing, literally last week I went to Newcastle. Hopefully I'll be able to give up taxing, and I'll be able to do this even more, which would be great.
Nice.
That's my money, yeah.
Is there a website that we can promote here?
Yeah, sure. So it's www.itsthemoneyguy.com, or you can hear me on Andover Radio, or if you go to andoverandvillages.co.uk, I'm on there as well. And you'll find me on Unity Online, which is another little charity I'm working with, giving just hints and tips and money videos and stuff. And of course, got YouTube channel. Feel free to subscribe. It'd be awesome to help me out. Great. And then that's it. Obviously, I'm on Facebook and Instagram as well. So feel free to follow if you want to.
Brilliant. Well, I'm going to add a few of those links into the description here and share this liberally. Come on. And I just really appreciate your time. Actually, I didn't know which way the conversation was going to go, and I found it absolutely fascinating, mainly due to the fact, two things that I found massively fascinating here. The rest of the stuff is brilliant as well, but one is that there is a direct link between personal training, fitness-wise, physically-wise, and personal training, financially-wise. I've rarely seen such an exact link, right? That's the first thing that is just like, genuinely didn't realize that. That's kind of blown on. And the second thing, well, because of that actually, is that accountability is the name of the game. And which makes me feel even more aware of this subject now, because I've made myself own that accountability to such an extent that actually I'm now looking at the rest of my life, including financial side of things, and thinking, am I actually owning my own shit as much in all of the other areas of my life? So this has been quite an eye opener, to be honest.
Oh, cool. Well, there's also again, if I want to make the two links together for the synergy, debt is such a horrible cloud over a lot of our heads, and if you were to come to someone and if I said to you now, Jonathan, I'm going to give you £1 million. I bet now, even just by saying that, you're in your mind, you've got a little part of it. Oh, that'd be cool, right? And then now you feel less stressed. So imagine if we could talk to someone, we discuss the bills and say, this meeting has saved £500, and you've now got £500 less worry, or we've come to the conclusion we've got a solution to your debt problem. You'll feel not just because, as we know, mental and physical and social is what makes you healthy. Yeah. Not one or single. So if you're mentally feel less stressed because you've got less money, you've got more money, you've got less worry about the debt, when you go and work out, you'll perform better.
Yeah.
Because you're less stressed. Your body will, what I mean by that is you will repair when you train quicker, because you have got less cortisol in your system, because you are less stressed. You know, becoming financial fit doesn't just, when I talk about financial fitness, I mean literally it can make you healthier by becoming less stressed by money, because we're all driven by it. All of us moan about it, and yet a lot of us don't do much about it either. And this is where, by being accountable for your actions, can really make you healthier up here, and it just makes things so much easier. Don't you feel just less, like you said about just changing your mindset, changing the way you think is the key. If you can change, like, I am going to be responsible, I am going to be accountable, I am going to go and do this. I'm going to set this next Thursday. I'm changing my energy bill, right? That's my target for Thursday. And then you do it and go, that was easy. Glad I did that. Right?
Yeah.
And not put it off, not keep going, I'll do it actually next Thursday. Actually, I'll do it Thursday after. Because then, you know, once you do it, you go, that was easy.
Yeah.
And you feel, as soon as you've done it, you have that little bit of something that goes, oh, right, that's that done for a year. And you feel a little bit lighter. And it just helps you as an individual. That's what I think.
Well, that's good. I agree. And that's actually why the whole thing's called Think Up. That's exactly, it's the ability to think up about these things. And so to that end, I just really appreciate you joining us on this. And yeah, it's been brilliant, Ads. I really appreciate it, mate. And yeah, and well done for being such an inspiration in all the other things. And I know the work you're doing with Jip on his fight, and that, you know, you've helped him, you know, train like a monster. And how what's his weight? He's lost 18, 12?
He's lost 16 and a half kilos. Was it 18 and a half? 16 and a half kilos so far. He's got another 4 to go. We've got 4 weeks to go as well, or 3 weeks to go, I think now. He's a different animal. He is I'm so proud of him, because he's one guy who struggled with just realizing what he's capable of, really. And by having someone like myself, it's not just me, it's the whole team. Having someone just saying, you can do this, you can do this, you need to do it, go and do it. And then I would try and beat him up, and then he'd like check me out really quick. So I couldn't tell him what to do if I wanted to. So, but you know, he's realised, he's become accountable. He's realised what he actually can do when he puts his mind to it. He's seen the results, because he's now looks in the mirror and goes, oh my God, I'm looking pretty good. Yeah. And it's like, exactly, this is what happens when you apply yourself. This is, you know, so it's
the end of the story. That's brilliant. Ads, thank you very much, mate.
Cheers, brother.
I'll leave you to it, and I'll see you soon on the mats.
Yeah, I look forward to choking you out very soon.
See you, mate.
Love you, mate. Bye.